Hey there, from the KUOW newsroom, this is Seattle Now. I'm Patricia Murphy. Before we get into the news, a reminder, it's our winter fundraising drive. We couldn't deliver this reporting without listeners like you. All of KUOW's work is community funded and people powered. If you're able to help out with a tax-deductible end-of-year gift, just click the link in the show notes. And thanks. Now, on to the news. It's Wednesday, December 17th. King County crews are working to shore up damaged and threatened levees after a week and a half of historic flooding. John Taylor heads the County Department of Natural Resources and Parks. He says the region's levees have never been under so much pressure.
We have not seen this levee system stress tested for such extended period of time. We're in it for a week. We're probably going to be in it for another week. So what you have is these earthen levee structures just being saturated and being under constant pressures.
The county says its flood patrol looks for warning signs a levee might fail, like water seeping through and cracks in roads and trails atop levees. Workers have been monitoring and repairing 15 damaged or vulnerable barriers on the Green, White, and Cedar rivers. Those include a levee in Tukwila and a barrier in Pacific that broke and forced evacuations this week. Families in South King County who had to escape flooding rivers are staying overnight at an emergency shelter. Casey Martin is there.
People started showing up to the Auburn Community and Event Center 4 days ago when evacuation orders went out. The Red Cross says about 50 people are sleeping here. Half of them are children, at least one as young as 6 weeks old. Inside, they have toys, games, and TVs with kids shows on. There's room for at least 100 more people to use the shelter during the daytime. A lot of families have come from Auburn and nearby Pacific, where a flood barrier broke on the White River. It could be days until they can return to their homes. The city of Auburn says they'll keep the shelter open as long as it's needed. In Auburn, I'm Casey Martin, KUOW News.
Highway 2 over Stevens Pass could be closed for months due to flood damage, and businesses in Leavenworth are worried about what it could mean for tourism. Joshua McNichols has that story.
Up here, people call Leavenworth Christmas Town because so many people come to shop and see the holiday lighting and to see animals that allegedly pull Santa's sleigh.
We typically see about 120,000 visitors a year on the farm.
That's Erica Bowie, owner of the Leavenworth Reindeer Farm.
Right now, we are seeing hundreds of cancellations come in every day.
She says her farm will be okay. New visitors will probably snap up the canceled reservation slots. And Seattleites can still reach Leavenworth via I-90. Unfortunately, it may be a slow go. There's emergency repair work being done on that highway, too. Joshua McNichols, KUOW News.
State regulators are looking into claims that 2 Skagit Valley farms had workers on duty during the catastrophic flooding the region saw last week. Monica Nicholsberg reports.
As an advocate with Community to Community, it's Lucy Madigal's job to check on farm workers in the Skagit Valley. So when she heard reports that workers were in the Brussels sprout fields at Skagit Valley Farm after dark last Wednesday, she went out to see for herself. Madigal says she saw workers operating heavy machinery in the mud after an evacuation order was issued for the area.
I feel upset and sad of the fact that it's always farm workers that get left behind. Everybody else gets to go home, prepare for the worst, but yet why are there still workers outside working?
The next morning, an advocate she works with saw workers processing potatoes at Knutson Farms. The State Department of Labor and Industries has opened an investigation into the claims. Neither farm responded to requests to comment. Monica Nicholsberg, KUOW News.
Several Washington Congress members are calling for oversight of, quote, deteriorating conditions at the Tacoma ICE Detention Center. Liz Jones reports.
Access to medical care and legal counsel are among the top issues laid out in a letter to the head of Immigration and Customs Enforcement. It cites reports of at least 3 pregnant women held at the Northwest ICE Processing Center who say they have not received appropriate prenatal care. It also describes long waits and barriers for attorneys to meet with clients as the lockup has filled to capacity this year. Senator Patty Murray said she wants answers from ICE about potential staffing shortages and overcrowding.
It seems to me that what the Trump administration is doing is using cruelty as an immigration enforcement, and that to me is unacceptable.
Senator Cantwell and 7 Democratic representatives from Washington also signed the letter. It gives ICE a January 16th deadline to reply. ICE did not respond to KUOW's similar questions. Murray said the letter aims to hold ICE accountable and help ensure conditions inside detention meet federal standards. Liz Jones, KUOW News.
The Department of Energy has issued an emergency order to keep Washington state's last coal-burning power plant in operation. The Trump administration claims the Centralia power plant is needed to avoid blackouts this winter. Governor Bob Ferguson and other state officials call the order absurd. Lauren McCloy advocates for clean energy with the Northwest Energy Coalition.
The closure of this plant has been a given for over a decade, and keeping it running beyond its useful and economic life is not going to help. This kind of federal overreach is incredibly unproductive.
State law requires the Centralia plant to shut down by the end of the month. It's the biggest climate polluter in the state. The federal government can issue emergency orders that last 90 days. The Trump administration has forced a coal plant in Michigan to stay open for 9 months by issuing 3 emergency orders in a row. From our politics beat, Washington state's longest-serving Republican in Congress is retiring next year. Scott Greenstone has that story.
U.S. Representative Dan Newhouse represents Yakima, the Tri-Cities, and Central Washington in Congress. In a statement, he said he's been, quote, truly humbled by this uniquely American journey that took a farm boy from Sunnyside, Washington, clear across the country. Newhouse is one of only 2 remaining Republicans in the U.S. House who voted to impeach Donald Trump in 2021. Trump has repeatedly endorsed Newhouse's challengers, but never managed to unseat Newhouse. Last month, a man from Tukwila pled guilty to making violent death threats against the congressman. A spokesperson for Newhouse did not respond to a question about whether that had anything to do with his decision. Scott Greenstone, KUOW News.
The USS Nimitz has made what's expected to be its final homecoming to Bremerton. The oldest carrier in the U.S. Navy fleet returned to port at Naval Base Kitsap this week after a 9-month deployment to the South China Sea and Middle East. The Nimitz was first commissioned in 1975 and was relocated to Bremerton in 1987, but the 50-year-old vessel is scheduled to move to Virginia next year, where it will be decommissioned. Next time on Seattle Now, we'll learn how Washington residents are doing with the recent catastrophic flooding.
People are starting to second guess, it's something that really kind of identifies this region, our relationship with rivers, with water. And, people are starting to think about, wanting to live so close to the banks of a river.
Hear more from KUOW reporter Casey Martin Thursday morning. That's all for today from the KUOW newsroom in Seattle. Our producer is Andy Hurst, and I'm Patricia Murphy. Seattle Now and KUOW are members of the NPR network. See you tomorrow.